You ever notice how the moment you say, I am an artist, people look at you like you're supposed to be starving, depressed, or living off instant noodles and sleep deprivation? Yeah, apparently, creativity only counts if you're miserable. Well, welcome to the office where we talk about arts and rants and why society thinks Van Gogh invented depression. The cultural association between artist and depression is often traced back to the 19th century to the third artist archetype, popularized by figures like Vincent van Gogh. And today, we are tackling a classic, the myth of the suffering artist, also known as if you're not crying into your sketchbook, are you even creating? Is it even worth it? Spoiler, yes, it is. You are. We all do this. Where does the myth come from? So let's start with the basics. The whole artist must suffer idea did not come from artists. It came from the romantic poets who were dramatic for sport, the 19th century's critics who needed a personality, and people who never had to pay rent. Historically, artists weren't suffering because it made them creative. They were suffering because patrons paid them in exposure and breadcrumbs. Michelangelo did not paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling because he was inspired. He did it because the Pope said, "Get on the scaffolding, Michelangelo, I don't care if your back breaks." And that is not suffering for art, that is suffering for your boss. And just as the way you're suffering because making art your full-time job is a gamble that either puts you under a bridge and you pay rent to the rats, or live a whimsical life. Why is the myth harmful? People still believe that pain equals authenticity, or pain equals improvement/good work. If you're happy, suddenly your art is less deep. And if you're stable, people will assume that you've lost your hard-working mentality and put no effort. If you're spiraling emotionally, they will think you're uninspired. Meanwhile, a lot of people are allowed to be happy, like accountants, dentists, they're allowed to be happy, but artists? No, you must be tragic, preferably barefoot, preferably in a garret inhaling chemicals. It is ridiculous. Creativity needs benevolent dedication, not suffering. And here I have some tips and reassurance to send your way. I got you. Creativity increases with rest, not burnout. Inspiration grows with curiosity, not despair. And your brain works better when you're not dehydrated and crying and wailing over not being able to finish that line art. Suffering does not make you a better artist. It just makes you tired. It makes you lose your love for art. And tired artists don't create masterpieces. They create piles and piles of unfinished drafts that will sit there and beg you to, please, please, Renderby, please. And flash news, it is not worth it. Trust me, all it does is just eat young artists alive. And it builds up pressure of always having to deliver masterpieces and full-made artworks that need to be perfect or hide them from humanity. You are a dummy. Let's be honest. If suffering automatically made people creative, then every student during the final week would be Picasso, and every person with a broken art would be Shakespeare, and every underpaid worker would be a Renaissance monster. But no, most of us just get headaches and eat expired granola bars to cope. You know what does help? Being supported, having time, having resources, being allowed to fail without being called lazy, and occasionally touching grass. Yes, I am talking to you because I know you haven't gone outside for quite a long time. Imagine if Van Gogh had therapy. Imagine if Frida Kahlo had ergonomic chairs. Imagine if Caravaggio had an anger management class. Art would be different, but the artist would have lived longer. And ask yourself, is it worth it for the result if you pay with your sanity and love for what you're doing? So no, you don't need to suffer to be an artist. You don't need to be tragic or emotionally unstable. You do not need to cry bloody tears from that airstream looking off. You can be hydrated, you can be well rested, you can be happy, and you can still make incredible art. Because creativity isn't born from pain, it's born from being human, my love. Please remember that we all start somewhere, no matter how fast or slow it takes us to get there. You are an artist, and if you look back at your work, you will see how far you've reached. Keep spreading them wings. From the office, we clock out. Little warning, this part is very unscripted, so by sharing my personal experience about the myth of starving to be an artist, is actually, yes, I have been in this success situation when some years ago I found myself actually struggling to be an artist because I was like, what if my art is never good enough? Because I see some people just like flexing the fact that, oh my god, I had 5-7 breakdowns on this masterpiece of an art and I posted it and it finally gave me the results I actually wanted. But no, it's not like that. It isn't supposed to be like that. You shouldn't hate art, you shouldn't cry over your art, you should be enjoying it. And sometimes when you want to work on something you enjoy, it does not remain a hobby. If you want to turn your hobby into your work, it's gonna, how can I say it, just like burn you out pretty fast. And I've been burnt out for so long. I have been crying over works and be like, I could never do that. Like, I see some artists that I really inspire myself to and be like, how did they do that? And somehow nowadays I really do find myself at those levels and I'd be like, how did I do this? I don't even know how did I do this. It's more like that I just accepted the fact that not everything can be good, and sometimes you just have to take a step back, take a breather, get a snack, and just come back to your artwork and you will see something with fresh eyes, not eyes that have been straining at the screen for like 3 hours and turned out like on the verge of drying out. So please do believe me if I say that it does get better, because it actually does get better and you will be the best artist and the best version of yourself if you learn to love yourself and love your work.